I worked as a night guard at a grocery store. They left a strange set of rules. I'm trying out a longer storytelling. This is a story that I came across on No Sleep that I feel like hasn't gotten enough attention. You guys can let me know if you like some longer ones mixed in with my shorter ones for you to maybe just listen to when you're doing things, okay? I saw the job listing 2 weeks ago. Wanted. Night guard at West Market in redacted, PA. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift, $21 an hour. The whole thing struck me as odd right off the bat. What kind of grocery store needed a security guard while it was closed? Was the crime really that bad? But I needed money badly, and 2 days later, after a phone interview with a man named Clive, I showed up for my first shift. As soon as I pulled up, I sort of understood why they needed a night guard. The grocery store sat at the edge of a rundown strip mall. Large signs reading "Space for Rent" hung in the store windows, but judging by the dusty glass and flickering street lamps, no one had taken them up on the offer in years. I parked near the front door. As I approached the building, I saw a woman hurrying away from the store. "You must be Erin," she said breathlessly. "The night guard?" "That's me. Clive left you some instructions. I put them on the conveyor belt at register 1. She gave me a polite nod and then stepped around me, heading for the only other car in the parking lot. "Oh, thanks. Be friendly," my inner voice scolded. "She's your new coworker." I turned around. "Hey, what's your name?" But she was already diving into the car. The door slammed, the car reeled out of the parking space, and then she was gone. So much for a new friend. I turned back towards the store. The parking lot was completely empty now, and the nearest street light was flickering with an odd, erratic rhythm. A cold wind swept in, whipping a crumpled paper bag across the parking lot. Well, here goes nothing. I stepped up to the front. The glass doors squeaked as they parted for me, and then I stepped inside. Despite its outward appearance, the store was actually pretty nice inside. Bright fluorescent lights shone from overhead, jazzy music playing from the hidden speakers. I headed over to register 1, where a folded piece of paper was waiting for me. I flipped it open and began to read. "Dear Erin, welcome to the West family. We sincerely hope you enjoy your first shift. To help you, we've compiled a list of rules that should make your shift as easy as our fresh-baked apple pie. Number 1. As night guard, you are expected to patrol the store every half hour, making sure that nothing is amiss. You may spend the rest of your time in the break room at the back of the store, monitoring the security camera feeds. Number 2. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. Number 3. If you hear a knocking sound coming from within the freezers in the frozen food aisle, ignore it. Number 4. If you see a shopping cart that hasn't been put away, please return it to the shopping carts at the front of the store immediately. Number 5. Do not be alarmed if you find a pool of blood in the meat aisle. Sometimes our meat packages leak. Simply head to the storage closet, get the mop and bucket, and clean it up. However, do not step in the puddle or touch it in any way. Number 6. If you see a woman in the store, immediately go to the break room and stay there until she leaves. Do not call the police or report a break-in. Do not make eye contact with her. Number 7. The music we play throughout the store is a pre-recorded disc of instrumental jazz. If the music ever stops, immediately go to the break room and stay there until it resumes. Number 8. Do not, under any circumstances, end your shift early. Thank you so much again. I hope you enjoy your shift. Clive. I stared at the rules, rereading them slowly. They were so weird. A woman in the store? Avoid aisle 7. I'd never been given instructions like this, even when I worked as a bouncer at a nightclub in a bad part of town. Maybe it was a test. They wanted to see how well I could follow instructions, no matter how absurd they were. I looked up at the security camera, staring down at me from the corner. Okay, challenge accepted. I glanced at my phone, 12:06. Might as well get my first patrol out of the way before getting settled in. It was odd walking through the store when it was so empty and quiet. All the breads and muffins had been stored away somewhere. White opaque plastic had been pulled down over the vegetable display to keep the cold in. When I got to the end, I made a right into the meat section. Sheets of plastic had been pulled over the meat coolers too. I saw flashes of red through the gaps of massive ribeye and sirloin steaks, big slabs of meat on the bone still intact. I averted my eyes. While I wasn't a vegetarian, I never really liked the sight of raw meat. I turned instead to the aisles. Aisle 3. Pasta and sauces all lined up on the shelves, glinting in the fluorescent light. Aisle 4. Cookies and snacks. Aisle 5. Aisle 6. Oh, Right. I wasn't supposed to look at aisle 7. I forced myself to look down at the floor. Yeah, it was stupid, but they told me not to look. In the off chance that they were going to check the CCTV footage later to grade my performance, I was going to follow every rule. I continued further into the store. A few minutes later, I found the break room, a nondescript brown door with a little square window cut into it. I took note of its location for later. As soon as I was done with this patrol, I was going to break out my laptop and finish watching Friday the 13th. And then I was at the west end of the store, the frozen section. I turned down the aisle, heading back towards the front. That's when I saw it. A shopping cart, parked askew in the middle of the aisle. I huffed. Of all the rules, this was the one that annoyed me the most. I was hired to be a security guard, not a cleanup crew. Wasn't it the employee's job to put all the carts away at closing time? Sighing, I began pushing it towards the front of the store. The wheels rolled smoothly beneath me. The jazz music played softly in my ears. I turned the corner and walked past the cash registers, heading towards the front door. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, barely audible over the jazz music. I stopped, straining my ears to listen. Several seconds of silence went by, and then I heard it again. It sounded like someone crying. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. There's no one in here. The door's been locked the whole time. Unless a customer had accidentally stayed past closing time. Maybe that employee, the woman I'd run into in the parking lot, didn't notice them and locked up before they could get out. "Who's there?" I called out. A wailing sob in response. My heart plummeted. It sounded like a woman, or possibly even a child. "I'm coming," I called, breaking into a run. "Where are you?" They didn't reply. They just kept sobbing. I frantically continued in the direction of the sound, calling out to them, telling them that everything would be okay. But then I stopped. The sound, it was coming from aisle 7. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. The rules have been very clear about that. I stopped just short of the aisle, next to an end cap display of mayonnaise, and carefully positioned myself so that I was hidden. "I'm going to help you," I called out. "Can you tell me what happened?" They finally spoke, but they didn't answer my question. "Help me," the voice cried through sobs. "Please." I wanted to step into the aisle. My foot was already halfway off the floor, ready to run in there and comfort them, but something stopped me. A gut instinct, a little alarm bell going off in my head, because out of all the aisles, what were the chances that this person would be on aisle 7? And besides, they were safe. They were in an empty store with me. It's not like they were in a dark alleyway in the middle of the night. "Come out of the aisle," I called, my voice shaking a little. "Then I'll be able to help you." "Please," the voice replied. "Help me." This is stupid. Clearly some person got stuck in here after closing time and they're scared. Just go into the aisle and help them get home. But there was another part of my brain, the instinctual lizard brain part, and it was screaming at me to not move a muscle. "Do you need me to call someone?" I tried. "Your parents? Or family? The police?" "Help me," the voice pleaded again. The "help me," it sounded the same each time they said it. A little stutter at the beginning, an emphasis on me. It almost sounded like a recording or some AI-generated thing looping over and over. It didn't sound natural. "Come out of the aisle," I shouted. "Come out and I'll help you." The sobs got louder, faster, and hysterical. "Help me," the voice pleaded again in a desperate tone that made my stomach twist. I stood there, pressed against the mayonnaise display. Listening to them sob was making my stomach flip-flop, even if it did sound slightly unnatural. I could call the police, I thought. They'd know what to do. Except I'd left my cell phone with my backpack at cash register 1. And getting it would mean crossing aisle 7. The rules didn't say anything about walking past aisle 7. They just said I shouldn't go down it or look down it. And I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. What if there really was someone who needed help? A child who sprained their ankle and couldn't get up? "Don't worry, I'm getting my phone and I'm calling the police," I called out, and then I took a deep breath and stepped across the threshold of aisle 7 towards register 1. As soon as I took a step, the crying stopped. Just like that, violent sobbing, and then, in an instant, nothing. Like a switch had flipped. Then the footsteps started. Loud, slapping footsteps of someone running down the aisle, way too large to be a child. coming straight at me. My heart dropped. It's a trap. They're coming for me and I'm probably gonna die here. But as soon as I made it across the aisle, the sound stopped. All I heard were soft jazz tunes playing through the speakers overhead. I hightailed it to the break room, completely forgetting about the cart I was supposed to return. The break room was small and cramped. The little square window in the door had been blacked out with construction paper from the inside. The only source of light came from the computer screen on the desk, displaying the security camera feeds. I scrolled through the feeds. I quickly noticed that none of them offered coverage of aisle 7. It seemed like the cameras were intentionally placed to avoid the aisle. After searching the grainy black and white video for anything amiss, I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. When I finally opened them again, it was almost 12:30. Time for my next patrol. I didn't want to go. I felt safe here, locked up in this little room. But I also knew I wouldn't be safe if I didn't listen to the rules. Okay, I'm only going to do them in like 10-minute pieces because I don't want them to be insanely long, but let me know if you want part 2.
If you're not into really creepy stories about the paranormal, literally just scroll past this video. But if you are, I have a truly scary paranormal story for you. So this happened to me 2 years ago when I went on a birthday trip to Las Vegas. And basically, I really wanted to see this place called the Mob Museum. I was literally fascinated. I was like, I have to see it. And I'm really into forensics, and the organized crime stuff sounded interesting, so I wanted to go. So I go to the Mob Museum. It is 3 floors. I start at the first floor, I look all around. I go to the second floor, I look all around. And before I get to the third floor, I realize it is 10 minutes until closing, and my mom's like, hey, just meet me downstairs, you go ahead. So I continue up these stairs to the third floor, and when I get up there, I'm the only one there. There's no one up there, which was fine with me. I'm actually thinking at the time, this is awesome, like no one's in my way, I can just make my little round and head out. So when I get up there, I look kind of to the left, and there's a room where there's like a purple, real groovy looking couch, real groovy looking living room setup, and I'm thinking, oh, that looks cool, so I walk in there. Immediately when I walk in there, I just don't feel right. I don't know how to explain it. I don't feel great. Like, I just feel off. It felt like I just suddenly was like, came over with like just this creeped out feeling for some reason, and I didn't know why, because I was just admiring this like real unique looking living room setup they had going on up there. That was until I look over to the right, and I noticed that there is a whole wall with a display of very graphic crime scene photos. And that wasn't the problem, okay? Like, I've seen crime scene photos, I've taken classes in forensics and stuff, but these pictures, I've never seen pictures like that displayed like that on a wall, framed with plaques underneath. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I started thinking that was why I felt off initially when I walked in the room. I was like, I don't know. I felt like the way that those people were being displayed was just like not respectful to the deceased. So my intuition was telling me, don't participate in this madness. Like, literally, let's just go. Let's just leave. So despite what my intuition was probably telling me, I'm literally thinking, I don't know. I kept gaslighting myself. I was like, maybe it's because the pictures, and I basically swallow the lump in my throat, and I'm like, no, I'm going into forensics. I have to be able to handle this. So I go up to the wall to look at all these pictures and the like stories of these people. I only looked at a couple that were on the very right side. I read like a couple of them, and then one of the other pictures from like over here somewhere caught my eye because it looked so old. It was like so saturated and so black and white that I was like, this looks like maybe the oldest picture on this wall. So I look at that picture. It's a real graphic crime scene of a man. I cannot say anything else about it on this app. So I go up to this picture, I'm looking at it, and at some point I go to read the plaque. So I move my eyes down from the photo, and as soon as I'm not even joking, as soon as I start reading this guy's name, dude, bro, as I'm reading his name, feel an energy rise behind me. Like, it felt like a tall person was like standing behind me or something, and I don't know how to explain why I felt like this specifically, but it felt like something was like hovering over me. Like, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain. I mean, it was just horrifying. It felt like something was like looking down at me, and I immediately feel like frozen. Like, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I have chills up and down my spine. I am not good. And I start booking it out of that room, and I'm surprised I didn't literally full sprint jump down those freaking stairs, but something kept telling me like, don't run or I'm gonna give off like more fear, more energy of fear. I was fully doused in fear. It probably would have made no difference, but I get down to the first floor. So I finally get down on the first floor, and I have to go down this entire corridor, like this entire hallway. And it's kind of a short hallway, and then you have to turn right to get to the exit and entrance of the museum. But when I tell you this felt like the longest hallway in the world, I'm telling you it felt like the longest hallway in the world. So I start speed walking down the hallway, and suddenly this energy that felt like was following me felt like it was literally standing in mine. It felt like something was standing in my energy. Like I came over with somehow even more fear than I was already feeling, and start full on sprinting, about nearly falling over, like flying down these hallways. I'm literally just like flying towards the exit. And I get up to my mom, and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I was literally like, thank God that's over. And then I get home, and some weird happened at my house. Some weird stuff happened at my house. And mind you, I've had paranormal experiences before. I have had things whisper in my ear. I have had weird experiences, but nothing made me scared like this. Nothing in my life. And I've been through cancer and like a lot of other things, and this truly is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. But if you want a part 2, let me know.
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll, because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like I go back here with my other friends. Like usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard, it's like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside, and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad like tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of like brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like I was bored. So like I didn't say anything, but she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little like scared and, you know, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story, and I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looks so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop, because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills, and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like something in my head was saying go back, go back, go back, go back. And we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. We're walking and we hear 2 branches crack behind us, and I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the 3rd time and we bolted. Like we didn't even see anything at this time, we just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to. But he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there, and I like put my hands on my knees like this, and I'm breathing heavy, and I'm crying, and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe, because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court, because basically I live on courts, and so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking, and I'm not even joking. You can tell I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back, because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real, even though deep down I knew it wasn't, because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now, because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back, and I'm like crying, and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room. We sit down, still out of breath. And then that's when we kind of like calm down a little, because, you know, we're in my room, we're safe. But we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So, yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah, so love you guys. Bye.
Payson, Arizona always gives me weird vibes. I don't know what it is about that place, but every time I go there, I feel uneasy. Now, it's this beautiful mountain town, but it's also very secluded, and it happens to be home to one of the most famous alien abduction cases. But there was a really creepy story that I heard out of the Payson area. There was this man named John. John said that his grandfather owned this 100-acre ranch outside of Payson. And he said he had hired this Native American man to take care of his sheep. And he lived there on this ranch in a small trailer. Well, one day, John's grandfather goes out to check on this man. And so he drives through the mountains out to his ranch. And when he arrives to the trailer, he is shocked to see that all of his sheep have been slaughtered, and they are missing their skin. Something had basically taken their fur off, and he immediately thinks that something is wrong. So he jumps out of his truck, and he goes to the trailer, and he finds that it's locked. He starts banging on the door, calling for this man. He can't get in. So he goes around to a window, he breaks out the window, and he gets inside the trailer. And there he finds this man huddled in the corner, terrified, shaking, and in very bad shape. And he said this man kept saying this one word over and over again, and he couldn't understand what he was saying. It was his language, and he didn't know what it meant. So he tries talking to this guy, but the guy is just in too bad of shape. So he gets him in his truck, and he says, I need to get him somewhere and get him some help. He starts leaving the trailer, starts going down this mountainous road, and all of a sudden, he looks out the right side of the window, and he sees something running alongside the truck. He describes it as a deer that's been flipped inside out, and it is running on two legs. And it was keeping pace with his truck, and he's going about 45 miles an hour. And he said this thing kept following them, and he, accelerated up to 60, up to 70, and it was still keeping pace with him. He said that's when this man started saying that same word over and over again that he was saying in the trailer. And he realized he is saying what he thinks this thing is. He's calling it by its name or whatever it is. Finally, this thing runs in front of the truck. His grandfather swerves, goes off the mountain, and they crash. The man who worked for his grandfather, he passed away. And so he was never able to talk to him about what had happened. His grandfather managed to live to tell the tale. But shortly after that, his grandfather sold that ranch and would never go back to that place.
You guys want to hear a scary story? It reminds me a lot of Insidious, but it's real. One time when I was babysitting these two girls, talked about them in a video before this. We were going to call the older one Luna and the younger one Aura. That's what I called them last time. I was babysitting, and the older one had an imaginary friend that she called Pete. I would always sense weird energy in this house. Disturbing, dark, like not good, friendly Casper the Ghost. And then one time, the oldest Luna at the time was, I want to say she was 3 or 4. And the baby, Aura, was like 6 months old. And I had put Aura down for bed. Put her in her little swaddle, got her all set up. She was snug as a bug, cute, perfect sleeping. And me and Luna were out in the living room because I was like, okay, we can play one game together like before you go to sleep because Aura obviously went to bed a little bit earlier. I think we pulled out like Candyland, some board game, which obviously she doesn't know how to play the ins and outs and the rules because she's 3. But when we were playing, she had another little character and it was Pete's, right? And every time, I swear to God, I would look away, I'd look back and it would move, and she'd be like, oh, Pete moved it. And I'm like, okay, Luna, like, you obviously moved it, you know? Like, she's 3, and I know she's just like, you know, she doesn't know how to play the game. Now I know it was literally this dark spirit that was moving it, but stay with me. I'm like, okay, Luna, sure. And then out of nowhere, we're playing, and the TV was on in the background, excuse me. And Luna goes, I love this song. And I'm like listening. I'm like, what song, baby? Like, I don't hear any music. And she said, oh, the song that Pete is singing to me. She said, it's a song that my daddy plays on his guitar because their dad played guitar, I guess. Like, I'd always see the guitar. Sometimes it'd be in the living room or sometimes it'd be in the parents' room. Like, when I'd go in there to grab stuff for the kids, it was just, like, always propped against a wall. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, remember what we said about Pete? Because I told her I didn't want her talking to Pete because, again, this felt like a dark energy. And it sucked because every time I was there, I felt like he was sitting in between me and her. Like, he was always, the spirit, Pete, was always hovering. It would never go away. So anyways, I'm like, what song? Blah, blah. And she's like, I'm trying to get her to describe to me again. She's 3. She doesn't really know how to describe it. And she says, no, Pete said he'll play for you. And I said, no, that's okay. Like, want anything to do with it? She said, no, he'll play for you. Just hold on. So I ignore it and we start playing this game again. Just moving little pieces across the board. And all of a sudden I hear the strum of a guitar. Just a solo strum, like an off chord. And I just get chills down my back because at this time the guitar was in the parents' room. I only knew that. I hadn't gone in their room that time, but because I heard it and their door was shut. And Luna jumps up. She's like, oh, I told you, Riley. Like, I told you. Pete said he'd show you the song. It's my favorite song. And I'm terrified. Like, I'm trying so hard to act cool. I don't know how this little girl is not so scared. But I'm just like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just go look real quick because my immediate thought was like, maybe somebody's in the house, like a real person, because that sounded way too real. It literally was just a strum of a guitar. So I go into the parents' room. I turn on all lights. The guitar is just sitting against the wall. Nobody's in the house. I do a sweep. And I'm like really disturbed because every sweep I'm doing, I feel like something is just hovering and following me into every room I'm going into. So I finally sit back down with her. I'm like, okay, babe, let's watch like 10 more minutes of the show and then like we're gonna go to bed. When I sat on the couch with her, it was the first time I felt like not super heavy, overpowering energy. And I'm like, whew, okay, like, but anyways, I was like, okay, this feels a little less heavy. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. She's so loud. So I'm like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I pick up the baby monitor right next to us. You guys know what's coming. You've seen the scary movies because it literally was just like that. Pick up the baby monitor to check on Aura. And I literally gag when I think about this because it was so terrifying. I see a hand, right next to the baby. She's sleeping, she's swaddling, and it's a creepy hand where the nails are like this long and it's just this black shadowy hand just right next to her. And again, this is the first time I said I felt relieved, like I wasn't being followed. It's because it went in the other room. I freak out. I literally sprinted, ran, busted into Aura's room, woke her up because I came in the door so hot. She was crying and just felt that energy in that room was disgusting. I pick her up, I bring her back out to the living room. I'm like trying to explain to the parents when they come home, like they're gonna think I'm insane of why their kids are still awake. And I'm sitting on the couch with the baby and with Luna, and I forgot to turn off the baby monitor. And I literally hear just disembodied voices coming from the baby monitor.
terrifying, out of nowhere, loud. And I literally just shut the baby monitor off. And the baby ended up falling back asleep in my arms. Luna ended up falling back asleep, and she fell asleep on me, her little head was on my shoulder. When the parents came out, I was like, sorry, they're just so sweet, and they just want to sleep out here with me. Because I tried again to, I've explained this in the other video, but I tried to kind of bring it up to them before, how something I thought was going on in their house, paranormal, and they looked at me like I was fucking insane. So I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with that. But that was also one of the terrifying times I experienced babysitting for those kids.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. The tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave them a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of where the tree was growing, they see a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby's skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid, there was no steps walking, it sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and slamming the door, and mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize, and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest as she's telling her, get up and let's go. Baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess it like I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
An email from a 911 operator to tell us their spooky story. Now, in the email, she said, this isn't my story, but this happened to my boss. But my boss is the type of guy who's not going to embellish. He's not going to make things up for attention. We're going to call her boss John. John says that one night he was working, it was late, and a call comes in. He picks up the call, and on the other end of the line, there is a man. And this man is telling him that where he is living right now, there is an active DV situation happening. The man on the line gives John the address and requests that he send officers. John dispatches the officers to the address that was provided to him. He tells the officers there's a man in the house who is calling to report a DV situation. He is calling from the landline, and he is requesting that someone come. The officers go, they show up, they knock on the door, a woman answers. They ask the woman, is there anything happening in this house right now? The woman just answers, no, nothing is going on. The officer then proceeds to tell her, well, we had a call from the landline at this house that there is an active DV situation happening. The officer that is talking to the woman looks behind her and notices that her husband is standing there just very menacingly. But once again, the woman tells the officers, we're the only people in the house, we did not call, nothing is going on. But the police officer that is talking to her just is not buying it. So he pries for a little more information, he asks her again, and once again she says no. At this point, there's nothing that the officer can do. This woman is not going to report that she's dealing with any abuse or a DV situation, so he just has to take her word for it and leave. So the officers do end up leaving, but the officer that was talking to her, he's just got a bad feeling, like something is not right in this house.
If someone ever asked me if there was a story that I would want all of my followers to listen to from beginning to the end, it would be this one. These are the type of stories that truly scare me so much. Just wait till the ending of this. So this guy says that when he was very, very young, he had a best friend named Raul. He said that it was a privilege to be Raul's best friend because unlike his home life, Raul's home life was really amazing. Raul had two parents who loved him so much and gave him attention. He even remembers how Raul didn't have to share his bedroom and had it all decorated with things that he loved. He lived in this really big house and had all the toys that just kids would dream of. He even had the newest and most modern video game setup, so of course when Raul asked him to stay the night, he was happy to. And just like he expected, he had the time of his life in that sleepover, and it wasn't wasn't just like the toys and having fun with Raul, but even Raul's parents treated him like he was a part of the family. He remembers eating sweets, and they even ordered pizza, which was really rare in his own household. He remembers even little details like when they were gonna watch movies, they would let him choose the movie that the entire family was going to watch. He says that they would watch the movie and then they would go play video games, they would have snacks until they eventually would go to bed. However, not everything was perfect. There was just something about when nighttime came that was not good. He realized that something was not right the first night he spent the night in that house, and he was tossing and turning. He explains that what he started to hear was almost like if somebody was knocking on the bedroom window. He thought to himself that maybe it was a branch of a tree that was making that kind of sound, so he didn't even bother opening his eyes to look outside that window. However, a few moments later, he heard that tapping on the window again. He did pretend to be asleep while somebody was tapping on that window, but he admits that that really scared him, not knowing who was on the other side. He ended up falling asleep until it was morning time, and then he didn't tell anybody anything because he forgot, since he was dreading going back home in the morning. So a week passed and it was the weekend again, and Raul again asked him if he wanted to spend the night, and he was so excited that he said yes and completely forgot about the window incident. However, they had fun. They went to bed, he couldn't fall asleep, and somebody was tapping on that window again. However, this time, after knocking or tapping on that window and him pretending to be asleep, he heard something different after. What he heard was somebody attempting to open that window. And he says that they were being successful because he could hear that window opening. He literally stood up, looked at the window, and he saw when a hand pulled back and hid. He said that the hand was long with his fingers all weird, and that to him, it was like a demon hand or something. He woke up Raul, who also looked and saw that the window was open, and they ran to the parents' bedroom and woke them up. The parents were obviously very alarmed, went, and they didn't see anything. The window wasn't even open. The parents also explained to him that they had an alarm system. They walked him to the alarm system and even went as far as giving him the code because they wanted him to feel comfortable, and if anything was wrong or if he ever needed to come over and they weren't home, he could put in that alarm code and come inside. And of course, that did calm him down, and him and Raul went back to the bedroom and they went to bed. And of course, with time, he completely forgot about that incident and he continued to go over to Raul's house. However, he does admit that every time in the night, he would hear something. If it wasn't a tap on the window, it was something completely different. Unfortunately, he says that the sounds coming from the yard or from the window weren't even the worst of it. There was one night he really needed to go to the restroom. As he's going to the restroom, he could see the front yard of the house through this big window, and he swears that he sees a really tall, bald man just staring into the house. He said the man didn't have like any hair in his face, like it was no eyebrows, just his eyes, his lips, like he was very pale. So when he saw him the first time, it was on a Thursday. The following day, he sees him again, but this time he is a little bit closer to the house. By the time Saturday came, he was right next to the window of that house. He did say that he thought to himself, like, why am I seeing this ghost? I cannot bring it up. If I continue to bring this up to the family, they're gonna stop inviting me over and they're not gonna let me hang out with Raul anymore. However, there was one last occasion where he saw this bald man. He woke up because he was really thirsty and he was gonna go to the kitchen and get a glass of water. He remembers that his grandmother told him about this like myth where if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're really thirsty, it's because someone has been observing you. Okay, didn't need to hear that within this story. I'm a thirsty ass bitch at 3 in the morning. Anywho, he gets up, he starts walking towards the kitchen. At this point, he knew this house almost like if it was his own. So he was just gonna go and get a glass of water and go back to bed. However, when he walked out of Raul's room and about to head towards the kitchen, something that was in the living room walking into the kitchen was surprised to see him. And unfortunately, he recognized what that was. The figure that he had been seeing outside was now inside of the house. The bald man just stayed very still, and he said that he just walked backwards, went into Raul's room and closed that door. And obviously he didn't tell the family anything, but he knew that this was out of control and very much out of his hands. The things that he was seeing were just getting worse and worse. And unfortunately, he would refuse to spend the night at Raul's house after that. He said that in the beginning when Raul would invite him over and he would say no, that maybe he didn't give it that much importance, but eventually Raul Raul would invite somebody else and he started having new friends, and him and Raul just weren't friends anymore. Time passes and he says that when they were 25 years old, he ended up bumping into Raul again. They were so happy to see each other that they ended up grabbing a coffee and just sat down and started talking. He tells Raul that all of his fond memories were at his house and that he was so grateful that they were friends even if it was for a short amount of time. And he also explained to Raul why he stopped coming over, because of that ghost that only he would see every night. That is when Raul told him something to calm him down, but it was the complete opposite. That definitely did not calm him down. Raul told him the following: yeah, there was something there at that house, that they discovered it a year after he stopped coming over to Raul's house. It was definitely not a ghost, but it was terrifying. Raul said that even his parents were like, oh my gosh, the kid was right this entire time and we had no idea. A family member of Raul's father knew that house very well. This family member only lived several streets away from them. This family member had severe mental issues and was supposed to be watched and in his own house at all times because he was dangerous. However, he had found a way to escape that house every night without being caught. And every night that he would escape, he would head over to Raul's house. At first only standing outside the house, and then eventually figuring out the alarm system's code and getting inside of that house. They even figured out that the way he got that code was when they had given it to him that one night that he was scared. They actually found him one night because the family was gonna go on vacation, but the dad forgot something at home. When the dad walked into the house, he found him inside, and this family member attacked the dad. The family member ended up running out of that house, but eventually was caught by the police. He was taken, but not to jail, because again, he had very severe mental health issues. And after all this, they found out that every night that he would escape his house, he had attacked a lot of people, ending their lives. Raul also told him that after that, he was never able to sleep comfortably in his room, knowing that the guy was so close. He had opened his window, he had done all of these things, until this family member did end up passing away 4 years after that incident. Even after his passing, they were to find people that he had ended and they never knew. So yeah, this is how he found out that he was never seeing a ghost. He was seeing that family member with severe mental issues and he survived. This is why this scares me so much, because I feel like you should be more scared of the living than the dead. The way that this could happen to anyone is what scares me so much. But anyway, what do you guys think?
One of the scariest things that ever happened to me while babysitting, story time. Now, I was 15, I've been babysitting for a few years at this point, so I had a lot of experience with kids. They loved me. Well, a family friend asked if I would go babysit their 7-year-old son for a couple of days while they went out of town to Myrtle Beach, so I said sure, that was great money for me. So the parents put their bags in the car, they showed me where everything is. Now, his mom made it clear to me that he has a very active imagination and that because his daddy let him watch horror movies the week prior, he's been having nightmares and making things up, saying that he's been seeing stuff around the house that's not there. So they get their stuff in the car, they give their son a kiss, and they leave. So I'm flipping through all the satellite channels, you know, checking out different shows, eating popcorn, little boy's playing with his toys, drinking his little juicy juice, and we're just having a good time. So I go in the kitchen to put a frozen pizza in the oven, and all of a sudden, this little boy comes flying out the living room, running up to me, and then wraps around my leg, just looking in the living room and then looking at me, back and forth. I said, damn son, are you okay? What happened? He said, she's in there, she's in there. I said, who's in there? He said, her, but I didn't see nothing. And before I can push him any further, he walks over and sits in front of the TV and starts ignoring me. We're sitting on the couch watching TV, and their couch was in the middle of the room, so you could walk around it. Well, this little boy starts looking behind the couch and then back at the TV. So I start looking back behind us. You know, it's like a natural reaction when you see somebody else doing that, you start doing it. The more he did this, the more I felt like somebody was standing behind us, but I don't see anything. So I get up and walk across the room, and from there I can see the hallway. And for a second, something stood out to me. At the end of the hallway, it looked like someone was peeking around the corner like this. But when I cut the light on, it was gone, so I thought my mom was playing tricks on me. My anxiety's peaking, so I'm like, okay, it's the first time you've been left alone in someone else's house. Calm down, go take a shower and go to bed. But while I'm taking a shower, I get the weirdest feeling like somebody's standing outside of the shower curtain. Now, they had a big-ass bathroom, so I was like, dude, it's a new place, it's a big bathroom, you're not used to this. Just stop freaking out. But I have to keep sticking my head out the shower curtain to make sure nobody's there because I'm getting that vibe like somebody is there. So I peek out the shower again and bam, this kid is standing in the doorway crying. I said, what's wrong? He said, it's gonna get me. It's in there. I just saw it. Can I stay here with you? I'm scared. I said, yes, stay right there. Just turn the other way. And then I dry off and get dressed in the shower so he can't see me. Now it's about 11 o'clock at this point and he's still wide awake. So we sit there and talk for a little while. We play with Legos, Play-Doh. I'm just trying to wear him out so he'll go to sleep. Well, finally around 2 a.m., he falls asleep. Now, it was already so late, I didn't have time to unpack my clothes, so I just get in the bed and I go to sleep. About 10 minutes later, I hear this youngin' screaming again. Before I can even get out the bed, I hear him thunk, 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 and he's already running into my room, jumps into bed with me. He's screaming to the top of his lungs, she's there in my room, behind the door. She's gonna get me if I'm alone. Please don't make me go back in there. So we're laying there in the bed together, and he says, I know you think I'm making stuff up. I promise you I'm not. She was there. I saw her. I said, honey, I believe you. It's okay. Just relax and close your eyes and start taking some deep breaths. This child has one hell of a grip on me. Like, he's wrapped around me like a python, so I could tell he was really scared. Like, he really thought something was going to snatch his ass off that bed. So I just held him and hoped that maybe he would calm down. Now, I know a lot of you would just tell these kids to hush and go to bed, but I'm not like that. I went through the same thing as a child. I would see things that were not there, and nobody else believed me. So I wanted him to know that I believed him and I was protecting him. So I reached over to the nightstand and I tapped that old school touch lamp 3 times and put it on the brightest setting so it lit up the room. That way we would feel more safer and we'd get some sleep. Then I start hearing some distant thunder and then it starts pouring rain. I think, oh, well, that sounds relaxing. So because of that storm, my ass knocked out. I was doing some good sleeping until about 30-40 minutes later. That was when I abruptly woke up to the bed shaking. It felt like a small tremor, like a little earthquake. So I'm trying to get my eyes adjusted and wake up and figure out why is the bed shaking. Apparently the storm knocked the power out because it was pitch black dark in that room and the only time I could see anything was when the lightning struck. Well, once my head gets adjusted, I start hearing a noise like chattering of teeth. I'm laying there trying to figure out what the hell is that noise and what is shaking the bed. And that's when I look over and I see the little boy is sitting up on the other side of the bed with his hands holding the cover. And it's him shaking the bed. He's shaking that hard. And that chattering sound I heard was coming from his teeth. He was sitting here holding the covers with his eyes wide open and going, are you okay? Because I thought he was having a seizure. But when I looked at him, his eyes darted over to mine and I realized he was awake. He was so scared. Like he couldn't move. He was frozen, shaking and chattering. I'm like, well, if he's not having a seizure, what is wrong with him? And that's when it clicks. He's sitting here staring at the door, so I look at the door. Y'all, let me tell you, in that moment, when that lightning flashed, I damn near shit my pants. It scared me so bad. Have you ever been so scared that your hands and arms and legs start tingling, they damn near go numb? When I looked at that bedroom door, there was someone's head peeking around the door like this. And you could only see their eyes. And when the lightning stopped flashing, I couldn't see anything anymore. It was complete darkness. That was when it really hit me. Holy crap, we're not alone. There's someone else in the house and they're standing right there. But what really freaked me out was every time the lightning would strike, I could see more of that person's face. Like it started like this, and then this, and this, and then I could see their actual mouth. This person was smiling ear to ear. I could barely take a breath in. All I could think was, what the hell is that thing? Then of course the lightning stopped flashing, so for a few seconds it was completely dark, and I had that feeling again like someone was watching us and getting closer and closer, and I was starting to panic. And when lightning struck a few seconds later, I could tell they were getting closer because now this motherfucker, person, thing, or whatever, was now at the foot of the bed, peeking over like this, staring at us. At this point, my damn teeth were chattering. All I could hear was between the both of us. So I pulled that little boy up on my lap in my arms as tight as I could because I didn't want whatever it was to try to snatch him out of my arms, and I held him real tight. So now when the lightning flashed, we could see its whole face peeking over the bed, smiling, looking right at us. So that was when fight or flight kicked in for me, and I remember the dad telling me that he'd put a loaded pistol in the nightstand and behind the headboard of this bed, so I start reaching around for it. And for some reason, my gut was telling me, you better keep your eyes on this thing. Every time the lightning strikes, pinpoint where it is with your eyes and don't take your eyes off or it's gonna jump. Reaching, trying to multitask, keep my eyes on it, hold the little boy, and feel around for this pew-pew, and I finally feel it, and I snatch it out of that holster and I hold it up. When the lightning struck, I pointed at this thing. I said, if you take another step, I'm gonna blow you into the next room. Get out and leave now. In that moment, something happened. I don't know what it was, but I could feel me looking into it and it looking into me, and that lightning flashed, and then all of a sudden the power cut back on. And no lie, as soon as the power came on, it was gone. I snatched him up out of the bed, grabbed that pew-pew, and ran to the kitchen and called 911. I stayed on the phone with them, the police came, and then I called the parents. I put the cop on the phone, they're talking, and then they tell the cop that they're not coming back until Sunday. Even though we're telling them we think there's an intruder in the house and their child's here, they don't give a shit. They're not coming home. They think it's our imagination playing tricks on us because the power went out and we're getting freaked out with the storm and everything. So I made it very clear I was not staying in their house another minute, and I was going to take their child back to my family's house, and that's where we would be. And they said, okay, fine, we'll see you on Sunday. So I asked the little boy if that was the first time he saw this thing, and he said no. He'd been seeing it for months, but this was the first time it got that close. Now I knew he'd have to go back to that house, so the next day me and my cousin went over and cleansed the entire house, hoping it would help.
Do you know the real story behind the Conjuring house? It all started in January of 1971 when the Perron family, Carolyn and Roger Perron, moved with their 5 children into a 14-bedroom house in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Almost immediately, strange things started happening around the house, like things would go missing. There would be random piles of dirt in the middle of the floor right after Carolyn had swept and mopped. The family would also hear strange noises all around the house. Slowly, things started to escalate, and the girls said that their beds would levitate off the floor, but I think the most scary was the basement. Roger Perron said that he often smelled like a rotting smell when he was in the basement and also felt like a cold presence behind him. A lot of times they would just refuse to go down into the cellar because of this feeling and this smell, but the furnace that was down in the cellar would often fail mysteriously, so Roger had to go down there to fix it. Things started to escalate to the point where the Perron family had to get Ed and Lorraine Warren involved, and they started finding some very strange things about the history of the house. They were able to find that a woman named Bathsheba Sherman had lived in the house in the 1800s, and there were several mysterious deaths surrounding Bathsheba and the neighboring children. Rumor had it that Bathsheba was a practicing Satanist and that she was involved in all of these children's deaths. They also decided that Bathsheba was threatened by Carolyn's presence, and that's why Carolyn was often the target of these attacks. Ed and Lorraine Warren would make several trips over the years to the Conjuring house, and they even tried to have a seance in the house. It was during this seance that Carolyn started talking in tongues and her chair levitated, and then she was thrown across the room, according to eyewitness testimony. In the movie, it is shown that Ed would eventually exorcise the entity that was in the house, but in real life, Lorraine said that Ed would never perform an exorcism because that would have to be done by the Catholic Church. The Perron family did stay in the house until the 1980s due to financial instability, and they just weren't able to move. They said that the paranormal activity did continue while they lived there. You can now tour the Conjuring house, but I don't think I would be brave enough. Would you tour the Conjuring house? Let me know down in the comments and follow for more creepy things.
This is a 100% true story that happened to a woman in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, there was this woman named Sherry who moved into this house with her 2 children in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, she said, at the time, she didn't believe in anything supernatural. She really thought that was a bunch of nonsense. But she said, right away when they moved in, she would notice, out of the corner of her eye, sometimes shadows moving across the walls. She would hear strange noises that she couldn't explain. But she said for the most part, it was just a normal house. One night, she's upstairs in her bedroom and she's folding laundry. She hears talking coming from her son's room. So she makes her way over to his room. The door's closed, and she hears her son having a full-on conversation with someone. And she's like, who is he talking to, at 12:30 at night? So she opens the door, and when she looks in his room, he is not in his bed. So she starts yelling for him. She looks down and sees him next to the side of his bed, on his knees, crouched down with his head under the bed, talking to someone. And she's like, hey, who are you talking to? Like, who's under there? And her son's like, I can't tell you. And she said, what do you mean you can't tell me? Like, who's under the bed? And he's like, I can't say. He'll get mad. And she's like, what? Who's under there? So she runs over to the bed and she looks underneath there. It's empty. There's nothing under there. So she's like, you know what? Just get back in bed. Like, just stop, doing whatever you're doing. Several weeks pass, and like on a regular basis, she keeps finding her son talking to someone under the bed, except there's no one there. So after a few weeks of this happening, she thinks maybe something is wrong with her son. So she takes him to this child therapist. The therapist assesses him and says, he seems completely fine. It's probably just his imagination. So several months pass and he keeps on doing this. Well, one day she's sitting down in the living room with him and they're talking when she notices he has some scratches and bruises all over his body. And she's like, where did you get those scratches and bruises from? What's going on? And he's like, I can't tell you. And she's like, yes, you have to tell me, what is going on with you? And finally he breaks down and he starts crying and stuff. And he just starts freaking out. And then he runs up to his room. So the mom, at this time is like, I don't know what to do. What is going on with my son? She's just panicking. Later that night, she's awoken to her son screaming in his bedroom. She runs as fast as she can. She goes in his room. She finds him halfway underneath the bed. He's grabbing onto the bed frame, and it looks like something is pulling him under the bed. So she immediately grabs him, pulls him out from under the bed. She looks under there. There's no one there. So she's like, you know what? This is weird. You're sleeping with me tonight. You're going to be in bed with me tonight. So they go back to her bedroom. He lays down. He falls asleep. She's sitting in bed. She can't sleep. She's freaked out about this whole situation. When all of a sudden she hears, shh, hey, come under the bed. And she's like, what? She looks over. Her son is sleeping. But then once again she hears, hey, come here under the bed. I need to talk to you. And it's like a man's voice. And she's like, no, who are you? Go away. And the man's like, come on, get under the bed. I need to tell you something. And she's like, no, I'm not going under the bed. And she said this man, whoever he was, just started yelling obscenities and getting really angry. So she grabs her son. They get out of the house. And she said she left that night and never went back. And still to this day, that house sits there. And she said she's talked to the neighbors, and they said since she's moved, several families have lived there, and they move out immediately.
Tonight's story is one of the most disturbing stories I have ever heard, so I'm going to be very careful with the way that I phrase things in this story, but viewer discretion is advised. So Pete is from Nigeria, and when he was younger, his parents didn't have much. They were struggling to put food on the table, they were struggling to pay bills, but luck would have it that his dad ended up getting a job at Pepsi, a good one, and then his mom got a job at a pharmaceutical company. Things were starting to look up for him, but because of his dad's job, they ended up having to move to a different neighborhood in a different place. Now, Pete said that the moment that he walked into this house, he had a very unsettling feeling. He said that it was just felt dark, it was just covering them in darkness. So their first night there, they are getting ready for bed. They all go to their rooms. He goes to his room. So Pete falls asleep, and later on that night, he wakes up in the middle of the night, and he swears that he sees someone standing at the end of his bed. Now, at this point, he thinks that he might just be tired, and he might be just kind of making this up in his head, because it was a new place, new house. He felt a little anxious, so he thought maybe that was messing with him a little bit. Little did he know that this would be the start of something terrifying. So fast forward to a couple weeks later, and he's coming home from school. He said that he had a lot of homework to do and that his parents wouldn't be home until around 7 or 8, so he decided that he was going to go upstairs and take a shower. So he gets in the shower and he's bathing himself, and suddenly he feels like an extra hand is rubbing his back, and it feels like somebody else is in the shower with him. So he gets really uncomfortable. So he decides that he's going to step out of the shower. He's not even going to bathe himself anymore. He doesn't even finish. He gets out of the shower. He walks over to the mirror. He looks in the mirror, and when he looks in the mirror, he's turned around and looking at his back, and there are 3 long scratches on his back. At this point, he's still trying to rationalize things, so he's thinking that maybe somehow he did this to himself. So he kind of just puts it in the back of his mind, and he decides that he's gonna go to bed. So he gets in bed and he's just scrolling on TikTok. He said at one point he went to go press the plus button where you can see yourself, I'm recording right now, and behind him he saw something that he cannot explain. He said that this thing did not look like a person, it did not look human, it was horrifying looking. And as soon as he saw it, he said that it just said, Pete. in the most horrific voice he had ever heard. Now, he is frozen in place at this point. He is absolutely petrified. He has no idea what to do. So he decides that he's going to get up and run out and go to his little brother's room, and that's exactly what he does, and he sleeps with his little brother for the rest of the night. The next morning, he goes and tells his parents, and he said that his parents dismissed this, that they told him that he needs to stop watching scary shows and scary things on the internet because it's messing with his head. And he is like, it wasn't in my head, and they just don't believe him. Now, he said that after this, things got exponentially worse. He was seeing this thing everywhere: school, the pharmacy, the supermarket, even at church. He said that he was in the church bathroom and that something was calling his name from one of the stalls. This terrified him. So one night he goes to bed and he's trying to sleep when suddenly he hears something underneath his bed. And he looks over and he sees that thing poking out from under the bed, and it just says, Pete. He said that every time it started doing this, it would just get worse each time, scarier each time. He also said that he would be sleeping in bed and he would wake up in the middle of the night to something grabbing his feet and pulling him at the end of the bed. Now, I have to be careful about this next part. He was having nightmares where this thing was like what you do to trees when you chop them down, right? That was happening to him everywhere in his dream. This got really bad to the point where he was not sleeping anymore. He was falling asleep in school. He said that he was waking up every single day with new marks on him, and that the hospital became like his second home. He even said that he was losing, like, I'd have no idea how this was happening, but that's part of the reason he had to go. He said that it got so bad that his principal told him to go home and come back when he was well enough to be in school. So his mom gets extremely worried and decides that she needs to go to a pastor at this point. And after they go to the pastor, they find out that his house was owned by someone who worshipped not God, but, you know. I'm gonna try to describe this next part the best I can. So he said that his room specifically was where they would basically give offerings, we'll put it that way, give offerings to who they were worshiping, if you know what I mean. And he said the reason why he was so sick is because that entity was basically acting the same as a tick does to a human being, if you know what I'm saying. So his mom tells his father, and his father doesn't believe any of it. He doesn't believe in anything supernatural. So it causes them to get into a big argument. His mom ends up taking him and his little brother to a new place, and he starts getting better again. Well, about 1 month passes and something awful happens. He hadn't heard from his father in a while, so they decide that they're gonna go check on him. They get to the house, and what they find, let me try my best to describe this. His dad, when they walk into the house, is laying on the floor. There's candles all around him, and there is a very strange word written across his entire body, and he is no longer here. Like, if you know what I mean. So after this is obviously heartbreaking, and they move completely out of that house. They get all of their stuff out of that house, and some time passes by, and he says that just recently he had a nightmare about his father that was really it sucked. He said that he had a dream that he was standing outside of that house and he saw his dad trying to come out of the gate of the house, and that his dad looked at him and said, "Help me." Before he could get to him, multiple hands pulled him into darkness. He said that this dream scared him so badly that he literally jumped out of bed, and he actually found out from people that people have seen his father standing on the balcony of that house still to this day. Okay, I'm so sorry, you guys. I almost couldn't tell this story. So here's the thing. I'm going to start telling long stories that don't have to be censored very soon, I promise you, if you know what I mean. So it'll be this week, I promise. One will be up this week. I'm sorry that I had to censor that entire thing. I hope you guys kind of got the drift of what was going on. But that is terrifying. It is so sad. It is mind-boggling. That is mind-boggling to me. That is one of the scariest stories I have ever gotten to me, because that interfered with real life, like literally. So the amount of intelligence and power that this thing had to have in order to be able to do what he did, or she did, or whatever this thing was, it's scary. But what do you guys think that this was? This, like I said, this was in Nigeria, so I don't know a lot about the culture, but I would like to know your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions, and I think so would he. Please be respectful, especially with this one, you guys. Obviously, the reason is very clear. And sorry if my hand was shaking. My hand has been shaking today for some reason, but I'm gonna do my favorite part now, which is the shout outs. User with a 300. Thank you so much for what you said underneath my video about my We Do Recover video. I really appreciated that. So many of you left so many nice comments on that video. I replied to a lot of them, but I need to get to all of them. And all those comments, you have no idea what all of them meant to me. Thank you so much, you guys. You are the best. I'm sorry, I'm destroying your shout out right now. Let me focus on you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, but thank you so much for what you said. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for your kind words and supporting me in more ways than one with my recovery and with my videos. You have no idea how much that means to me. It means the whole world to me. So I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you know that. Thank you. Racin219, same thing. Thank you so much for what you said. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for searching for me every day. That's unwavering support. That means you really, really like my videos, and that's so exciting to me. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that I get to be that for people. You guys have no idea how lucky I feel and how much gratitude I feel every single day, and thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for making me feel that way, because you did. You made me smile, and I appreciate that. In more ways than one, you made me smile. So I hope you know how much I appreciate you as an individual. I love you, girl. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell your paranormal experiences on here, or ones that you recommend to me every single day. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. What are those? Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. What's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you so much, my spooky babies. I'll see you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.